The third G20 meeting of finance ministers and central bank governors takes place this weekend in Buenos Aires, with trade tension dominating the meeting. The US currently has placed tariffs on $35 billion of Chinese goods, with President Trump threatening to increase that to all Chinese imports, valued at $500 billion. But there's also a standoff between the European Union and the United States on steel and aluminium exports. IMF Director Christine Lagarde spoke about the impact of trade restrictions that the IMF forecasts based on the restrictions in place so far.
Which in the worst case scenario, under current measures and not taking into account most recent announcement, is in the range of 0.5% of GDP on a global basis.
This is Lagarde's first visit to Buenos Aires since Argentina and the IMF signed a $50 billion loan. There were protests on Saturday. Many Argentines associate the economic crisis of the early 2000s with the IMF. Inflation is at the highest point in 2 years. The peso is at a record low. But Lagarde says she has full confidence in that Argentina will turn things around.
And Luis, that we see the economic recovery picking up in early 2019 and continuing on to 2020. We also see inflation coming down during that period of time. And for the moment, if you were to ask me whether the partnership that we have in place is working, whether it's effective, whether the authorities are on track, my response is unequivocally yes.
Meetings scheduled on Saturday and Sunday here are closed to the media. One US official has said that the US Treasury Minister, Steve Mnuchin, has no plans for a meeting with China. Meanwhile, other finance ministers have admitted they expect there to be very little progress made here. Joel Richards for CGTN in Buenos Aires.